Hello guys, so welcome back. Today we shall be doing another worldwide knownly topic all of you know, and it is very important for your exams, that is the rickettsial infections, right? So we shall be discussing about the rickettsial infections, that is Rickettsia. So all of you know there are wide variety of rickettsial infections, but basically this Rickettsia causes two most important infections. One is called as typhus infections and another one is called as tick-borne infections. So Rickettsia basically causes two different types of infections, right? Two groups of infections we can tell. So what are these groups of infections? One is called as tick-borne infections. One is called as tick-borne infections and the other one is called as typhus infections. So tick-borne infections as well as typhus infections. So these are the basic two groups of infections which are caused by this Rickettsia. Now, one very important thing. So regarding this tick-borne infections and regarding this typhus infections, what are the list of tick-borne infections and what are the list of typhus infections? So when it comes to the tick-borne infections, the list is as follows. The first infection is Rickettsia rickettsii, right? The first infection is Rickettsia rickettsii. So this is the first infection, right? So what is the next one? What is the next one? That is Rickettsia acari. I'm just writing it as R acari. That is Rickettsia acari. Third important thing is Rickettsia conori. Rickettsia conori. And fourthly, you have got Rickettsia africa, right? That is Rickettsia africae. Right? So these are the basic four types of rickettsial infections, right, which you encounter in case of tick-borne infection. So what is Rickettsia rickettsii causing, what is acari causing, what is conori causing and africae causing to you? So before we discuss that, we shall also finish the other group on the typhus side and then we shall come into this, right? So when it comes to the typhus infections, so Rickettsia, I told you it causes tick-borne infections and typhus infections. Right? What do you mean by tick-borne infections? Means all these four different types of Rickettsia which I have written here, they transmit through ticks. That is why it is tick-borne infection. Now, when it comes to the other side, what is the first thing is, Rickettsia prowazaki. One is Rickettsia prowazaki. So this is one typhus infection, right? The second typhus infection is Rickettsia typhi. Rickettsia typhi, right? So these are the two groups of rickettsial infections, right? So what are these causing basically? For example, Rickettsia rickettsii, what is it causing? It causes a special type of fever and that is called as Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. What is that fever, guys? That is Rocky Mountain Spotted fever. So it causes Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. When it comes to Rickettsia acari, what does it cause, guys? Basically, it doesn't cause it. There is not much importance of that. Obviously, it causes some sort of rickettsial infections like rickettsial fever maybe, but it is not that significant. But what is significant? That is Rickettsia conori and Rickettsia africae. Rickettsia conori causes Mediterranean fever, right? So it causes Mediterranean fever. What type of fever? Mediterranean spotted fever. Mediterranean spotted fever. In the same way, Rickettsia africae, it causes what? African fever. What type of African fever? That is African tick bite fever. So simply I am writing it as African fever. African. So out of these four tick-borne infections, Rickettsia rickettsii causes Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, Rickettsia conori causes Mediterranean Spotted Fever, and finally Rickettsia africae causes African Spotted Fever or simply African fever because there are no spots basically, so it is not a spotted fever. So all of you have to definitely remember these things in mind. Very important for your MCQ exams, right? So very important for your MCQ exam in your MBBS. Now, when it comes to Rickettsia prowazekii, what does it cause? Rickettsia prowazekii and Rickettsia typhi, both of them cause typhus infections. Namely, Rickettsia prowazekii causes what type of typhus infection? It causes louse-borne typhi, right? So it causes louse-borne typhus. It causes louse-borne typhus, and finally Rickettsia typhi causes murine typhus. It causes murine typhus, right? So I hope you remember this. One is it causes louse-borne typhus and other one is murine typhus. So one thing is that for MCQ point of view, these things are very important. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is too important, right? So next, another important thing for MCQs is regarding the typhus infection. So you have to know these names, what type of fever, what is the special name given for these fevers which it causes. These are very important. Okay. So now, I hope you understood the basic thing. There is nothing to understand here, just you have to memorize these things, right? So nothing much information and nothing much conceptual part that is located here, right? Second important thing, how are these transmitted? What is the transmission? Before we discuss transmission, in every bacteriology part, in every bacteria, we have been discussing the first important thing, whether it is a gram positive or a gram negative. Obviously, these group of rickettsial infections, they are gram negative. Okay, they are gram negative. So they are gram negative organisms. Not only that, not only they are gram negative, another important thing you need to know is they mainly live within the cell. So I call it as intracellular, but they cannot live outside the cell. If they can live outside the cell and inside the cell, I can call it as facultative intracellular. If they are living only inside the cell and they die if they go outside the cell, if they can't live outside the cell, so they are called as obligatory intracellular. So these organisms are obligatory intracellular, right? So these organisms are basically obligatory intracellular. Now, these are the basic general properties of the bacteria. After discussing the properties of the bacteria, the second thing which you need to know is that what are the routes of transmission? How, okay, before discussing the routes also, how is this basically transmitted? How is this basically getting transmitted? So I told you one way through which it transmits is through ticks, right? You know, we have got ticks, lice, flea. So all of these bugs, okay? So we have got ticks, we have got ticks, we have got what? We have even got lice, we have even got bugs, right? I mean the fleas. So with the help of ticks, lice and fleas, so these infections are basically transmitted. So those who basically let us say go for a camp, right, go for a campfire, or basically in the tropical areas, when you go into the forest to make the foods and all, so if there are ticks, lice and fleas over there, so if you are eating that food, then definitely you're gonna get infected with this pathogens, right? So basically the pathogenesis is basically they are transmitted through the saliva. Within the saliva of these ticks, lice and fleas, you have this rickettsial infection, right? So when the saliva drops on the food and if you are eating that food, obviously you get this such type of infection. And remember one thing, that all these diseases which you can see here, all of these are self-limited. I mean, when you use proper drugs, they go away. But one very important thing which you need to know is that they resolve. I mean, the symptoms will resolve if you are using proper treatment. If you are under proper treatment, everything will be fine. But regarding the Rickettsia prowazekii, you need to be more conscious, because even after the treatment, even after the cure, there are high chances that this infection can reverse. I mean, this infection can reoccur. Okay, so this reoccurrence of Rickettsial prowazekii infection, I mean your louse-borne typhus infection, is called as Brill-Ginser infection or Brill-Ginser disease, right? So one thing you have to keep this thing for sure in mind is that Rickettsia prowazekii infection may reoccur. right? So it may recur again. So once it recurs again, you have to be conscious that you will be affected with Brill Ginser disease. So the disease which will be affected is Brill Ginser disease. Keep this thing in mind. So let us make a table, right? Let us make a table of all of this and see how they are getting infected. So what was the first one, guys? I'm not writing the name of the pathogen over there, rather I'm writing what type of fever is it causing. So the first thing is Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, and all of you know that Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever is caused by Rickettsial. The next one is Mediterranean Spotted Fever, MSF, Mediterranean Spotted Fever. And third one is Rickettsia acari. We discussed it, right? We discussed that there is Rickettsia acari. And obviously African fever is caused by, right, Rickettsia africae, that is African tick bite fever, right? So African fever, I'm simply writing it as African fever, okay? And finally you have got two typhus infections. One is called as Rickettsia prowazekii, which causes louse-borne typhus, and the next one is Rickettsia typhi, which causes murine typhus. I forgot to tell you that, yeah, I have already told you, Rickettsia typhi causes murine typhus, right? So louse-borne typhus and murine typhus. So where should I make a note? So this is gonna be louse-borne typhus, and the last one will be murine typhus. So these are the basic things which everyone has to remember, and now in a minute we are going to make out the differences of which bug transmits all of this. Okay, so look here now. So first of all, let us write three important bugs. One one is tick, another one is mite. So that is tick, mite and louse. These are the three basic things through which they are transmitted. Now let us see the important things now. Is Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever transmitted through tick? Yes, it is transmitted through tick. Is Mediterranean Spotted Fever transmitted through tick? Yes, it is also transmitted through tick. Is acari transmitted? No, acari is not transmitted. African fever? Yes. And what about the remaining two? No, the remaining two are also not transmitted by tick. When it comes to mite, there is only one organism which is transmitted through mite, that is Rickettsia acari. The remaining all are not transmitted through mite. Coming to the louse, Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, it is transmitted through louse. The first two are transmitted through louse, the last two are transmitted through louse, the middle one are not transmitted through that louse. So this is the basic box. Seems interesting, seems simple, but it is very tricky to remember, and you have to remember. There is no concept in this. You just have to remember these things. Okay, so this is one of the important thing. One of the important table I have made the differences between all of that. Second important thing which you have to know. Is where do you find lymphadenopathy? This disease is characterized by the formation of lymphadenopathy. So where do you find lymphadenopathy? Where do you find lymphadenopathy in these diseases? So lymphadenopathy is basically found in two of these infections. One is called as Rickettsia acari. Second one is called as Rickettsia africae. So acari A, africae A, both of them causes lymphadenopathy. Both of them causes adenopathy. Adenopathy is also having A, right? So remember this, lymphadenopathy basically caused by Rickettsia acari as well as Rickettsia africae. These two things you have to keep in mind. So this can be an MCQ. Right, so you mainly have the MCQ points from this. So next important thing, not only that, in this type of infections you basically see the rash. You know what type of rash? For example, macular rash, papular rash, hemorrhagic rash, right? You basically see these types of rash, macular, papular, or sometimes purputic rash, or sometimes petechial rash. So What are the different types of rash you find? So obviously in all of these cases you find rashes, right? So different types of rash are, for example, macular rash, you find pruritic rash, you find petechial rash, right? So basically you find macular rash, you find petechial rash, right? And you also find pruritic rash. What do you mean by pruritic? Pruritic. Pruritic is severe itching, right? So because of that severe itching, you find a rash there. So you find pruritic rash. So where do you encounter all of this, like macular, petechial and pruritic? All of them you see in case of all these rickettsial infections. All these rickettsial infections you will find macular, petechial and pruritic rash. Okay, for example, I get a rash, then how is it gonna spread? You have to know, spread, right? From the trunk it is going to spread to the extremities, or from the extremities it is going to come to the trunk. How is the rash gonna spread? Is it going to spread centrifugally? It means from the trunk to the extremities, that is called centrifugal. If it starts from the hands and the legs, right, and comes to the trunk, that is centripetal. So how is it going to spread? Centrifugally or centripetally? See, if you see infections like Rickettsial typhus, Rickettsial typhi basically, and Rickettsial. In both of these cases, how does a rash spread is that it spreads from the extremities to the tongue. So this rash spreads from the extremities to the trunk. So this type of spread from the extremities to the trunk is called as centripetal spread. This type of spread is called as centripetal spread. Now, let us discuss about another one regarding the Prowazaki. So in Rickettsia Prowazaki, how does the rash spread? Anyone have any idea? Obviously, it will be the opposite of that. Opposite of that in the sense the rash spreads from the trunk to the extremities, right? The rash spreads from the trunk to the extremity. So what type of spread is this from the trunk to the extremities? This is called as centrifugal spread. What type of spread is this, guys? This type of spread is called as centrifugal spread. So these are the basic things which you need to know. How is it transmitted, right? In what ways it is transmitted? Most importantly, each parasite, right? Each of this pathogen causes what type of infection, and you have to know regarding the rash. This is very important, guys. So regarding the rash, is it a centrifugal or a centripetal arrangement, right? Mostly they're going to ask you this question in pediatric. So this is the thing. And finally, this is very important, guys, very important MCQ, that how are you gonna test this? How will you test? So what is the lab diagnosis? How are you going to diagnose it? So you are doing a specific test to diagnose this, and that is called as Weil-Felix test, and that test is called as Weil-Felix test. So this particular test is called as Weil-Felix test. You do for all rickettsial infections, right? So what is the treatment you give, guys? What is the drug of choice basically you give? Obviously you start with doxycycline, right? So you give doxycycline to the patient. But always remember, if the patient is allergic to doxycycline, then you have to convert to chloramphenicol. Doxycycline allergy, convert to chloramphenicol. This is the important thing which you need to know regarding the rickettsial infections. But this information which I have given you regarding the rickettsial infections is mainly for your MCQ point of view. For your exams, this rapid review of rickettsial infections is enough. But if you wanted to learn the rickettsial infections in depth, in detail, right, to write the theory exams for your MBBS, you have to know little bit more. I mean, regarding the pathogenesis, regarding the little bit extra information, right? So that thing will be given in a separate video. So this is the rapid revision video or a high yield video on rickettsial infections. Thank you so much.